You're watching Truth versus Hype. We've come to the interiors of Rajasthan in the week when the Congress-era Aadhaar, the unique identity scheme, has hit the 1 billion mark. The NDA has even pushed a bill through Parliament to ensure that Aadhaar becomes a law. More and more, it's being used to deliver cash and subsidies to the poor. But the debates over Aadhaar have never been more intense. Is it going to be a game changer in eliminating poverty and ensuring a better quality of services to the poor? Or are those benefits being exaggerated? Is it actually a safe and sterile data trove, as Aadhaar's managers claim? Or is there any justification to the paranoia over data leaks, surveillance and lack of privacy?
आज देश में आधार 100 करोड़ पहुंच गया.
The 1 billion mark announced by big ads and big numbers linked to major government schemes. But do the ground reality match these claims? To begin with, the 1 billion itself.
The idea of a state bullying people into getting onto a database is itself highly questionable, and I think that's what the Supreme Court saw.
The Supreme Court from 2014 in a series of pronouncements has been saying that Aadhaar has to be voluntary and cannot be made mandatory until it's decided by the court. But as these circulars from different government departments show, the centre kept insisting that Aadhaar is made a precondition for welfare schemes, leading to dozens of contempt petitions against the government.
People took the government to court only after the government made it mandatory. And they made it mandatory in various kinds of ways, and the poor have suffered the most for this, because basic services without which they cannot, which the state is supposed to provide to them, were made dependent upon whether they got onto the database or not.
The Aadhaar bill itself is ambivalently worded on this aspect. Clause 7 says that the proof of an Aadhaar number is necessary for the receipt of certain subsidies and benefits. But another section says if a person doesn't have Aadhaar, alternate means will be provided. But is Aadhaar necessarily the key? Just this week, a quick ground check in Delhi brought out the reality of how Aadhaar is enforced.
आधार कार्ड नहीं है तो उसका नाम भी नहीं चढ़ेगा, ना ही राशन मिलेगा.
और कोई डॉक्यूमेंट नहीं लगा सकते आधार कार्ड के?
नहीं, आधार कार्ड के सिवा और कोई कुछ नहीं करा है.
You know, it's voluntary in the sense that you don't need to get it, but in case you are going to get some benefits or subsidies, I think it is necessary to have this kind of cleaning done.
Now the government might argue that yes, there may be an element of coercion in the manner in which Aadhaar is being implemented, but so what, as long as it's getting the job done better. And it's to this end that it's nudging more and more states across India to use Aadhaar to deliver services. Now, we can't capture the complexity of that experience, so we've chosen to focus on only two states, Rajasthan, where we are, and Andhra Pradesh, both of which have implemented Aadhaar across the board to deliver a range of schemes, whether it's PDS, pensions, and so on. And it's by looking at these states that we begin to understand the many challenges of the so-called Aadhaar miracle. Here in Rajasthan, in the village of Kachpa near Udaipur, they gather at the ration shop with Aadhaar cards. Ideally, their fingerprints scanned on this mobile device should send a message to the Aadhaar database and the grain delivered into their hands. Meant to eliminate the corruption of the past, one estimate suggesting that the quantum of grain lost is close to 42% every year. But again and again, these are the results.
मशीन बंद हो गया.
चलते बंद हो जाती है, तो कभी हैंग भी हो जाती है. दिया था सर, प्लीज ट्राई अगेन. नहीं बताते आपकी ये अंगूठा सही नहीं है, कुछ नहीं आती सर, प्लीज ट्राई अगेन.
So just this one transaction has taken what, 5-6 minutes we've been trying, yeah, maybe longer, with just this one lady, and it's not worked.
वो मिल गई. ये मिल गया.
ये मिल गया. अरे कमाल है. बहुत सारे लोगों को जिनका अंगूठा नहीं मिल रहा है, तो आप उनको राशन फिर कैसे दे रहे हैं?
सर हमको रजिस्टर से दे रहे हैं.
रजिस्टर से दे रहे हैं.
नेटवर्क की बहुत प्रॉब्लम है, नेटवर्क आदि तभी चलता है, बाकी चलते ही नहीं.
This shop owner runs 2 ration shops. Across the two, the numbers of failed transactions are high. तो यहाँ गांव में कितने राशन कार्ड हैं वैसे?
350.
350. अच्छा, ये पूरा लिस्ट है जिनका नहीं मिला है. ये हो गया टोटली तो मिला के करीब 60 या 70 लोग जिनका नहीं मिल रहा है फिंगरप्रिंट। आपके पास एक और राशन की दुकान है, वो कौन से गांव के लिए है?
वो घाटा
घाटा गांव। वहाँ पे क्या प्रॉब्लम है?
वहाँ सर किसी के फिंगरप्रिंट मिल रहे भी नहीं है।
किसी के नहीं मिल रहे?
किसी के भी नहीं मिले, शायद 4-5 जनों के मिल रहे हैं।
सिर्फ 4-5 जनों? वहाँ कितने राशन कार्ड है?
वहाँ शायद 400 के लगभग होंगे।
400 राशन कार्ड है, मतलब यहाँ से ज्यादा है?
यहाँ से ज्यादा है।
और सिर्फ 4-5 लोग के मिल रहे हैं। Now we've deliberately come to these villages which are non-tribal villages in this area. These are villages of other castes, upper castes, and you can see the state of affairs here in a fairly well-connected part of the region. Now we're going to go into a tribal village which is even more deeper in the interiors to see what the situation there is. Here at the news of our arrival at Loharcha village, a huge crowd gathers. तो अभी जैसे ये राशन लेना पड़ता है अंगूठा से, उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम आ रहा है?
ये कह रही है कि दोना लो का अबे और मशीन में माता अंगूठा दे ने अबे दोना लो, तो यहाँ पूछ रही है कि में दिक्कत आ रही है कि नहीं आती?
फिगर नहीं आ रहे हैं, जैसे ये जो राशन कार्ड है तो इनके फिगर नहीं ले रही है मशीन।
In a hall in the nearby town of Kachba, a meeting on the rights of construction workers. A glimpse into the scale of the Aadhaar problem in this region. यहाँ पे कितने गांव के लोग होंगे अंदाजा?
यहाँ कम से कम 20-25 गांव के लोग।
20-25 गांव के लोग हैं। क्या ऐसे हर गांव में अंगूठा ऐसा हो रहा है प्रॉब्लम? हर गांव में? They accept that Aadhaar has the potential to curb corruption if it works.
सही हिसाब से देखें तो सर अभी जो टेक्नोलॉजी चले बहुत सही है। ये चल जाएगा, नेटवर्क वगैरह ये सब समस्या मिट जाए तो अच्छा बिल्कुल सही है। क्योंकि पहले क्या है, जैसे मेरा भी बीपीएल का मैं आदमी है, 2002 की लिस्ट में मेरा नाम है, लेकिन पंचायत वाला सब करके हमारा राशन वो उठा था।
अच्छा, आपको नहीं मिलता था पूरा?
मिलता ही नहीं, सिर्फ गेहूं देते, शक्कर देते नहीं थे। क्या नहीं, तुम्हारा नाम भी नहीं है।
Nikhil Dey, what we found in Udaipur district, is it isolated or symptomatic of a wider problem in the state?
Right across the state, we started off with first phase districts like Tonk, and the figures there they were saying it was 20% in the month of December that they managed to give through the machine, 15% in the middle of January when we were there, when we were traveling through. And wherever we went, the maximum, Bharatpur said that they are better off in the state and they are on the top, and they were around 45%. Unless you have 95% efficacy, this just doesn't work.
I beg to differ, because we had a lot of these authentication experiments done in the past, and we find that there was a very small fraction of people who were not able to authenticate. Also, let us understand that in a PDS system, it is any member of the family can get the ration. So it is not that just one person is not able to authenticate, so he will not be able to the whole entitlement can be denied to him. That's not the case.
Inside a State Bank of India branch in Kashba, the queues are long. Pensions now directly credited into the bank account. तो पहले पेंशन कैसे मिलता था?
पैसे वो डाक ले जाता ना तू, डाकियो वो लाके अटे देतो, मनी ऑर्डर, हाँ केस दे देता सर, हाँ केस लाके अटे दे देता।
तो पहले डाकिया आके कैश लेता था,
हाँ वो ले आओ तो अटे दे देता।
पूरा पेंशन मिलता था या वो थोड़ा काट देता था?
नहीं, पूरा दे, पूरा।
The bank transfers are meant to streamline the nearly 80,000 crores of pensions remitted annually. Except studies find that pension leakages have already been low, close to 10%. The problem here, unlike PDS, is not about not getting the money, just that the wait is long.
आप मतलब सुबह हूँ कति दिन लाइन में लगा
अटे मोर वटो गाड़ी में 8 बजे बैठ गया वटो ये अटे 10 बजे आया 11 बजे
लाइन में कदा घंटा खड़ा रहे
10 बजे 10
अबे नंबर आया मतलब सुबह 8 बजे घर से निकले 10 बजे यहाँ और 10 बजे से लाइन में लगे हैं
अभी 1:30 बज गया है
अब इनका ये ट्री हुआ है मतलब पूरा दिन अब वापस जाएंगे शाम को 4-4:30 बज जाएगी 5 बज जाएगी पूरा दिन एक दिन का
वेट इसलिए करना पड़ता है कि वो पढ़े लिखे नहीं है सबको एटीएम दिया गया है ऑलमोस्ट 95% को दिया गया है बट लोग एटीएम यूज ही नहीं करना चाहते हैं इसलिए यही है भीड़
तो पेंशंस के लिए तो एटीएम नहीं यूज कर सकते उनको तो काउंटर पे आना पड़ेगा अच्छा पेंशंस को भी एटीएम से कर सकते हैं
हाँ बिल्कुल एटीएम सबको दिएगा और एक डिवाइस है उसके थ्रू भी जहाँ पर हमारा बीसी बैठते हैं वहाँ जाकर भी अपने घर के पास वो डिवाइस से यूज कर सकते हैं वो
But the banks are also meant to reach villagers directly with banking correspondents armed with cash and portable scanners. For an account base of this size, the bank has very few.
4 हैं हमारे एक्टिव.
4. But 4 इतने बड़े एरिया को कवर कर सकते हैं? जैसे आप बता रहे हैं आपके पास 40 to 50,000 कस्टमर बेस है.
बिल्कुल कर सकते हैं. क्योंकि डेली ट्रांजेक्शन तो करते नहीं ना नॉर्मल जी, महीने में 1 या 2 बार ही करेंगे जो पेंशन लेते हैं, तो कर सकते हैं नॉर्मली, कोई बहुत बड़ा इशू नहीं है.
You know, after the Jan Dhan Yojana, as part of the in fact PMJDY program, we had identified areas that within 5 kilometers how to reach out the financial services. So 5 kilometer was a radius drawn, and in which in the country around 1 lakh, about 1,43,000 banking correspondents were given in. That was till June last year, but currently if you look at it, gradually it had improved to 70,000-80,000. Now we have more than 1,08,000 BCs who are working every day.
But there are also problems of scanners with these banking correspondents.
कई बार क्या होता है, यहाँ के लोग मजदूरी करते हैं, फिंगरप्रिंट चेंज हो जाते हैं, ये प्रॉब्लम आती है क्योंकि मशीन तो अपने अकॉर्डिंग वर्क करेगी. अकाउंट खोलते वक्त क्या फिंगरप्रिंट थे 1 महीने बाद चेंज होगा, ये भी बहुत बड़ा इशू है.
Now it could be argued that some of these struggles that Rajasthan is facing with its transition to Aadhaar is because it's a backward state. But what about Andhra Pradesh, which has a well-developed IT network, an IT-savvy chief minister, and a history of a more efficient PDS? What's the experience in Andhra Pradesh? When it first adapted to Aadhaar-based platforms, Andhra found a big drop in the use of ration cards, which it claimed was a cleansing up of corruption. But a study by a government-supported audit group found that about 22% of beneficiaries had not lifted grains for entirely different reasons.
Huge sample size, so we decided we'd concentrate on just about 5 fair price shops per district. And what our survey showed up was that it wasn't as though all the people who had not taken ration were fake. Essentially, we found EPOS machine failures. We found that there were issues with people in terms of biometric authentication. We found people who had been away on temporary migration. We found that people's Aadhaar numbers hadn't been seeded properly. So there were a myriad reasons why people had not been able to take their rations, all of which did not indicate that these were fake names or these were leakages. At least that's what our report at that point found.
Today, a year later, a good number of ration shops continue to show low offtake. We set out to find out why.
I'm in Pikiniwani Palli, which is a small habitation in the Yelbanda Panchayat of the Veldurti Mandal, which is 60 kilometers off south of Kurnool. Behind me is a ration shop which works on manual system and not on biometrics because the servers and the connections are down, as this is a very remote area. With me are the beneficiaries of the Aadhaar card who have not received pension from months to years, and the officials do not address this issue.
మీకు ఎప్పుడు ప్రాబ్లం కాలేదు కదా?
ఇప్పటికేం కాలేదు సార్, నాకు
బయోమెట్రిక్ ఇప్పటి వరకు పింఛన్ ఎన్ని నెలలు వచ్చింది?
ఇంతకుముందు వచ్చింది.
ఎన్ని సంవత్సరాలు వచ్చింది? అప్పుడు ఎంత ఇస్తుండ్రు నీకు?
200 ఇచ్చినారు, కొన్నాళ్ళు 500 ఇచ్చినారు.
500 ఇచ్చినారు. తర్వాత ఇప్పుడు రావడం లేదా?
రావడం లేదు.
ఎన్ని రోజుల నుంచి రావడం లేదు? ఎన్ని సంవత్సరాల నుంచి రావడం లేదు?
2 ఏళ్ళు అవుతుంది.
2 ఏళ్ళ నుంచి రావడం లేదా? ఏం సమస్య ఏం చెప్పారు?
ఏం చెప్తున్నారు గిట్టనే, అందరూ అడిగిన నెలలో వస్తుంది అంటారు కానీ ఏమన్నారు.
Proponents of Aadhaar argue that these are temporary disruptions, ironed out over time, and one mustn't lose sight of the big picture of the crores of savings that Aadhaar will enable.